So, all right, we'll give one more minute and then we'll get started. And hopefully Ben fixes his audio, and hopefully you guys can see the screen that I'm sharing. So. Ben, are you trying to still adjust your microphone? Yeah, well, I guess we'll just go ahead. So 3 minutes past the hour. So the slides have been posted, and let me share the link just so that everyone has it. Hey, Jacopo, how are you? So there are the slides, and I'll also share the link to the meeting notes. So I appreciate any help in note taking. Cool. All right. So without further ado, I guess we'll get started. So got several items on the agenda. This is something we started talking. First one was something we talked about last month. Mentoring new community members. I'm not sure if there's been more traction over the past month. I don't think there has been. So that's one of the topics. And we started making some improvements to the core team page. It's something George started on, made some progress there. And then I think there were discussion on meeting notes, like how to, and I think this is another issue that George, you opened. I'll quickly recap the hackathon that just ended a few weeks ago, and several other business items, responding to community MRs, GitLab contribute. There'll be a quick discussion to make sure everyone has, make sure nobody has any issues like registering, and then quick discussion on FOSDEM that's happening in a couple of months. So let's jump to the first topic. So I'm not sure if the status has changed over the past 3 or 4 weeks. We started offering mentorship pairing with core team members for people who had their first MRs merge. And then I think like about 4 to 5 contributors a month, they have accepted the offer to be paired with the core team members, and then they'll typically get introduced to core team members, but I don't think there's ever a follow through. There'll be a nice email introduction, and then when it comes time to set up a way to communicate with the core team members, I don't think the community members have necessarily been proactive in making connections. We can keep trying that. I don't think we need to stop offering that, making that offer to new contributors. We can keep doing that, but I think we talked about maybe we should look at different ways of like connecting with new contributors and core team members, and I think one of the things that was brought up was like an office hours. Maybe we'll do, even if it's like completely online on Gitter, maybe like an hour or two a month as an example, have an office hour where people can come and just ask questions, and people are available online. And the other thing I thought of was, similar to what we've been doing in the hackathon, do some pick a topic on, do recorded like a training sessions. For example, this could be a simple one, like any one of you can kind of show, look at the issues in CE or EE and find the ones that you're interested in working on, and then start, working on an MR and just show the process that you guys go through, or other topics that you thought might be appropriate for new contributors. And that's sort of another option that I thought of, but I don't know if what your thoughts are on either one of these, or if you have other ideas, I'd love to hear them. So let me just open that up and see if you have any suggestions or thoughts. You guys are all quiet.
Be quiet because you speak very, very cool.
You like, yeah, I don't think that's true, but I mean, David, have you had like experience with office hours in at like Ubuntu? Um, like I don't know how that was organized. Like maybe that was online on IRC, or maybe that was like a session on a conferencing tool like Zoom or WebEx. But
yeah, I mean, there used to be a bit of both actually,
uh-huh.
and I mean, office hours were good in the sense that they created an event, that they created a time in the month where people just could come in.
Right.
The first ones are always a bit more difficult because generally people don't know much about the event. People might be shy,
Right.
they might not join. But I mean, as this keep repeating and having the same time every month, every couple of weeks or whatever, then you started to see some traction as well. So it might be something trying in any case. The other thing that I should mention is I noticed that some of the development teams at GitLab have started doing what they call the 201 sessions, which are also public events similar to office hours. They are dedicated to a particular topic every. I'm not sure if they're monthly, but in any case, there's a few of them are scheduled already. Perhaps we could use those as well as office hours and participate in those too.
Right.
And then, yeah, another option might be Gitter as well, or IRC. But I'm not sure how active we all are. I mean, in this particular group on IRC, I haven't been logged into IRC for a while now.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think like Hannes is online, but I know he's been active in IRC. I mean, every once in a while when I check into the GitLab IRC channel, it seems like, I mean, it seems more active, for example, versus like Reddit as an example. I mean, Reddit's pretty quiet.
And both IRC, both the IRC channel and the Gitter support channel are very, very active actually.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I mean, maybe that's something we can think about. Just taking some notes here. Yeah, I mean, maybe this is something we can iterate over the issue in terms of ideas for an office hour. I mean, we could try something on a month that when we don't have a hackathon, because hackathon, we already have an event, like for example, in February, maybe there's something we could try in like January or March. So, I mean, I could even post a question on something like Gitter and see what people think. I mean, there are a decent number of people there, like 120, and there are, at least like a couple of messages posted per day is what I'm noticing. So maybe that's something I can try and poll people. Okay. Anyone else have any ideas? Or otherwise, we can continue the discussion through issues or on Slack channel. So. Speaking of Slack, like Ben, do you know if Paul on our end signed your NDA so that you don't yet have access to it? Okay, so let me take an action. Sorry about that. Like I know it was issue on our end, but okay, we'll get that squared away. Cool. Okay, and if you have any ideas, like including like training sessions and others that you think might be worth trying in terms of mentoring, I mean, even without mentoring, it seems like, when you look at the past couple of months, we're getting more people to contribute. So maybe it's not a dire need, but I feel it somewhat odd that nobody's taking advantage of it. So, cool. Okay, otherwise we'll just move on. So core team page layout, and George, I'll let you talk about a lot of these as well. I mean, apologies for, I was kind of slow in terms of adding all the core team members to the team page, and I think I mean, a couple of you have sent me a merge request to get yourself added to the team page. So I think Vitaly and Ben, you haven't done that yet. Like if you want to just send me a merge request to add your details to the team page, I mean, have either me or David review it. We'll be happy to merge them. And George and Jacopo, sorry we had that like a little bug. so you weren't able to get your updates in right away, but that should be squared away. So once that's all in place, I think we can clean up the current core team page and not have like different layout in terms of the team members. George, you want to talk about some of the other things that you were discussing in terms of the layout?
Yes, okay. So I try to make some layout based on the current layout of the team page. I think you can see the screenshots in the issue too. I also asked the Remy and Winnie if it's okay with them to use only partial data from their profile so that it's not unbalanced, the layout.
Right.
But I haven't heard from Jarek. I don't remember the name. What is?
Jarek. Okay.
Jarek, if he's willing to participate or give some ideas, because it's middleman, the software behind it. So maybe he can add some notes if this is possible to use partial data.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I would feel free to ping them again. I don't know if he's out or not, but either him or Luke, looking at the issue. But
it's also nice to have the core team members on the team layout too, I think. So thanks for adding that.
Yeah, you bet. Other than that, I don't think there were any disagreements, right? I think in terms of core team members, I think everyone's in agreement. Just waiting for.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I think it's the only thing left is to see if this is possible or feasible technically. So to actually use the same data source for the core team members and the GitLab members, as well as what will happen to the alumni team members. Is there any technical complicality there or not?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I think when I was like reading through this last week, I think it would be better. Let's just focus on like fixing the core team now, and we can just leave the alumni as is. I mean, it's kind of ugly, but let's make that I guess the next priority, and just focus on the current core team page, and then move to the alumni. But people have different ideas.
And also, David had mentioned that we should rephrase maybe the top paragraph part, and I like that too. So just make it more compact, or so that it can be positioned better.
Yeah, and I think like Ben may have mentioned this too, because I think that even that paragraph is a little long. It might just be a matter of just breaking it into like a couple of different paragraphs, so it's easier to read. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that I fully agree on is on having like a summary or a tagline. And this is something that Ben mentioned, so that people actually who land there don't know much about GitLab, or they might know about GitLab, but they land there, and in the next couple of minutes they can figure out what the team does essentially. Yeah. But I think that's just content essentially. I think that's something that we can work out later once the layout has been done.
Okay. Cool. Okay. Anything else we're missing here, George? Or
no, I don't think so.
Yeah.
And this is also related to the next topic, I think. So maybe we can reference some of the meeting notes and how the core team works from the smaller paragraph later on.
Right. Yeah, I think both online and offline, like we had discussions on meeting notes. I mean, 2 months ago we talked about using the wiki, but I mean, if people's preference is to move to like a markdown file that's simple enough to do. I mean, all the wiki's pretty much all in markdown anyways, and I can just create a separate markdown files to, a separate markdown file to capture all the meeting notes. And I mean, that's not an issue, but.
Well, the content is not really that lengthy, so we can still use the wiki, which is faster and more quick to use. But the point is to have a single point of reference for all the reference links, videos, etc. So
okay,
I'm fine both ways. I mean, because having the markdown files will add some overhead, as I've added in the issue below.
Right.
But I'm okay with both approaches.
Yeah. So I'm looking at the wiki page right now. Let me move this over here. I mean, pretty much it's got, I mean, basically all it has is, I mean, it's at the top, because we're using the same Zoom link, it's got the same link, it's got logistical information for the meeting, you got slides and notes, and basically links to recording. And you know, whether this is done on a wiki or a markdown file, it doesn't really, I mean, I'm not married to either one of them, I guess. So I'm okay either way. And I mean, like Ben and others pointed out, it's, I mean, only certain people can edit the wiki, whereas like if it's in a markdown file, people can submit, you know, merge requests to suggest updates, right? So that there's a benefit of using a markdown file, but so.
So what would be the suggestion to replace the wiki? Just a file on the on that project?
Yeah, that would, yeah, sorry I didn't make that clear. That was my suggestion. Just create a, like a, you know, index.html.md file and to capture the meeting notes, or there'll be basically a markdown file for meetings, I guess. But, and then, I mean, meeting notes, we can still use like a Google Doc. I don't think that'll be a problem. We'll just have a constant link there. And then the other thing that we haven't always done is, I mean, create relevant issues if there's an action point, right? I may have missed one or two in the past couple of meetings, but.
Yes, I think this is also important because there are some action points that are missed during the last meetings.
Right. So
both approaches is fine. If anyone from the core team has anything to add, it would be really nice, because I wouldn't feel comfortable for this to all the overhead to come to you, Ray, and just managing the markdown files. But let me know what you think.
I mean, David, did that like answer your question, or I don't know if you have thoughts like one way or the other, but
I'm fine either way. I think in the end, it's the person who manages the notes, whoever that is, should probably take the decision. In any case, I mean, be it you or be it someone else in the team. But one thing that I wanted to ask is, you mentioned then an index file. Is the idea then not to ultimately publish this on the website then?
I haven't thought about that, but I guess that would be an option. But
I mean, this might be the next step. Then, then rather than just having a markdown file, as you said, an index.taml.org.erb, and then I mean, then that would have the ability to for everyone to send merge requests to it. In any case, which was the original suggestion. And then ultimately, this would make it a live page on the website, so that people landing on the on the core team landing page, they would be able to see the meeting links as well.
Yeah.
Maybe we can try use the Google Doc for the next few meetings and see how the content structure itself, and if it's too lengthy, and migrate to Markdown. I'm not sure. What do you think?
And personally, I think that the Google Doc, I think it's useful in terms of being able to do live edits during the call. Essentially, I think that's the main benefit of it in terms of having a permanent home for the content. Yeah, I think Markdown or it's might be a better place. Yeah.
I mean, Ben, do you have like any other thoughts, like besides some what you shared online? But no, so I can see the chat. Like you might be having audio issues. The most important thing is for action items to turn into issues. Otherwise, whether it's Google Doc or whatever tool it is, it's Ben's okay either way. But yeah, I mean, maybe like you said, George. I mean, we don't need to make this complicated if Wiki's working, as long as like action items are turned into issues. Maybe we just leave it as is, or this doesn't necessarily need to be like a high priority item. But I liked your idea about having a section on attendees. That made sense, and then turning things into issues. Action item into issues is probably the key things.
Yeah, I think we all agree on this for sure.
Yeah. Let me. Okay, cool. Cool. Okay. All right.
We can revisit the issue for sure in the future if we see that.
Yep. Cool. Yeah, I mean, this is sort of an ongoing thing. I mean, we're going to continue to meet once a month, and then, I mean, things evolve, but we just need to make sure that we're disciplined. So. Okay. So the quick item on the hackathon, and a lot of you participated in many different ways, with not just with merge requests, but helping people like online, and also reviewing new people's like merge requests. So I appreciate everybody's help. I mean, obviously, both David and I were thrilled with the number of MRs that came in. I mean, that was impressive. I mean, we like at the end of day one, we already surpassed like what we had in the first hackathon, so that was very impressive. But what I was more impressed with was like the breadth of contribution. I mean, CE and E, of course, like we expected that, but there are like a number of MRs for like GDK, Gitter, Runner, Shell, and I think I might be missing a few here. So it ran across like a different projects that we have in GitLab. So that was like, I was very, very impressed. So hopefully that continues. The wide range of contribution was just enormously impressive, and obviously want to keep that going. So the numbers are great, but I mean the different areas where people are contributing was very impressive. So obviously we want to keep this going on a quarterly basis, and the next one we're planning on doing this in mid-February. I'll probably make an announcement pretty soon, like I set up a date and announce it. One of the tweaks that I was thinking about doing, I talked to a number of product managers at GitLab, and one of the things that we want to experiment with is provide like additional incentives for people to work on like specific issues for different product areas, like product manager for manage, plan, or verify, et cetera, et cetera. They might pick, here are 2 issues that we want community members to work on during the next hackathon. Like it's a high priority item, but they couldn't assign engineers to. Then we might provide like additional incentives, like additional swags or merchandise for people to work on those specific issues. And we'll probably limit the number of them to like maybe 6 to 8. That was sort of the number that we're talking about. So this is sort of way to steer people to work on like a specific items that we want to prioritize, from the product team. So that's, I'll probably provide more details on that. I'm talking to another product manager tomorrow. So that's something that we want to experiment with next time around. And I'll let you know of more details. And I don't know what you guys think of that. you know, obviously we're getting the quantity that we want, but we also want to encourage people to work on like specific issues. So cool. Any thoughts on that, or if not, we can just move on. But
can you hear me now, Ray?
Yeah, go ahead, Ben.
Cool. I think that sounds like an interesting idea. Curious, have we done prizes before that are not specific issue focused, but like categories? Like you might have seen other hackathons where they'll have, you know, certain prizes in certain categories or something. Like I'm trying to think of one, you know, GitLab focused, but you could have, you know, best contribution that improves user experience, and you might have another one that's like performance focused or things like that.
No, I mean, we haven't done that before, but that's also an interesting idea. I mean, so far we've had two, and it was basically, I mean, we gave like general awards to anybody who had their MRs merged. That was one, and then and the other awards were based on like how many MRs you had merged, basically, right? If you had the most MRs merged, you basically won the grand prize. But we haven't had like things like themes or a specific area, like, or specific awards for like a best front end, like, you know, contribution as an example. But we haven't done that yet. But that's something that we can think about doing.
Cool.
Yeah, thanks, Ben. Yeah, feel free to add your thoughts there.
And I think that might be interesting as well. And going back to Ray's suggestion here, might be to include, let me just go back a bit. We've been working with a couple of projects, big open source projects, are migrating to GitLab. I mean, Drupal is an example that's probably known to everyone. But most recently, we've been working with KD and also with Haskell or GHQ, Glasgow Haskell compiler guys. And they've got a couple of issues that are not too involved. I mean, some of them are, but are a bit of a blocker for their migration. So it might be good to include them as well, as in issues to help the open source community at large.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, and I think I mean, I was talking to Mark, I mean, about like, I mean, he runs Issue Bash. I mean, I think he even thought about having like themes. Like, I don't think he's done it yet, but yeah, I think that's worth considering as we mature and grow. Cool.
Maybe we can also provide some level of difficulty along with the issues. Maybe you can suggest some low-hanging fruits that first-timers can actually pick up.
Yeah. Yeah, we try to do that somewhat with, I mean, I would make suggestions on here's how you search for like low-hanging fruit ones, like level of difficulty is like 1 or 2, but maybe we can be more, I mean, even that, like you get like hundreds of different issues, right? But I think we need to pare them down even more. But, so.
Yeah, I think the discoverability of issues in general, it's something that that's interesting to look at. If we could do something that's very, very focused for the hackathon, that can help us to kickstart this and to make it easy for people to find the issues, I think that'd be great. Even if it's just us picking a list of issues for the hackathon specifically.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, I mean, some things that I've seen that worked in the past. I mean, I know that there's a GitHub page that lists open source projects and issues that the community, the wider community can work at. One thing that has worked in a couple of projects that I've worked on is having a dedicated web page for a list of issues, which essentially can use the API to in a very focused way, just to categorize the issues and to have like a central place where people with a single URL, you can point people at this could be URL that's on the contribute page, and then people land on, and it could be a URL that we could give to hackathon participants as well. But yeah, essentially a landing page.
Related to both your comments there, I think just we have the Hackathon wiki currently, but I think there's a lot more that we could flesh out, such as how to search the issue tracker for some prime issues to work, or, just where to get help, all that kind of stuff. I mean, some of that stuff's on the wiki page already, but like debatably a dedicated hackathon web page, or just, project or something that's always, never changing, but it's always where you go for the latest hackathon details, kind of like a hackathon resource kit for GitLab.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, that's something that I'm already starting to work on, trying to migrate most of the stuff to the landing page. It's sort of still skeleton. We have a hackathon landing page, but beef that up a little more. And my thought is to just use a wiki page only during the 2 days of the event, because we want something where the pages could be updated like frequently during the event, but once the event's over, we should just move everything over to the main hackathon webpage. So including like make it more obvious where people can get help and where to find reviewers, etc. So good point, though. Cool. Okay.
I like the idea of the hackathon kit as well.
Yeah.
That's potential.
Let me add that. Cool. Okay, and let me move to the last slide. I've got about 10 minutes left. So thanks for opening that issue, Ben, on responsiveness to community MRs. And yeah, unfortunately, I think there's an issue for making the GitLab bot do a triage for all projects, not just CE and EE, and I think that's still in progress. But yeah, unfortunately, like it looks like majority of the MRs that you're working on were not in CE or EE. And thanks for flagging those. And then I think I started triaging some of those, and then it got late, and Remy finished them off. But if anything's like sitting there for too long, feel free. Don't be shy about just finding me on Slack or something, and then I'll get it in front of the right PMs or whoever can help out. So sorry about that. Yeah, go ahead.
Wasn't really worried about my issues per se. It was just, I had noticed that I'm pretty active, and some of my stuff was getting stale. Some due to me, others due to getting stuck waiting for approvers. But if it's a problem for me, then probably a problem for 10 other people. So
that's exactly the point.
My point in the comment was more not to use the access with you guys to get stuff done, but more to figure out, okay, what can we do to improve the process? So I think the process works pretty well for CE, but now need to figure out how to bring that process to other important things like Omnibus, because if Omnibus has problems, like one person's probably going to file an issue, and 100 other people are probably going to have it not file the issue. So
right. No, thanks for pointing that out. That's helpful because the bot's not covering all the projects, and it's still pretty manual in non-CE or E related projects. Don't be shy about. That's another point that I've been trying to make in general in terms of other community members. Just I think people feel somewhat reluctant. I don't think any of you guys have this issue because a lot of people in GitLab. The people that are new, they feel intimidated about pinging somebody in GitLab. They don't realize that that's a completely fair game, a fair thing to do, right? So if nobody's paying attention to your merge request, you have a right to complain. But
I think one of the things for new contributors is like they don't know who to ping.
Yeah. So, yep, exactly.
I should add as well that this coincidentally this was also raised a couple of days ago in Slack. Some customers of GitLab had this exact same issue, whereby they had contributed a merge request to GitLab Runner, I think it was, and it was never tagged and it wasn't looked at. So yeah, I mean, just adding a data point essentially, but yeah, considering again I think that the overall point is that community contributions in general are not very much tracked if it's outside of C and E.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing I noticed just today on the contributed page, like, I mean, we have an email alias for contributors, like I think it's contributor@gitlab.com. And that email comes to me and David, right? I mean, there's no reason why we can't listen on the page, right? If you got stuck and no one's paying attention, just send an email to that alias, and that's something that we can fix.
I think that's good, but hopefully there's more stuff that can be done, like with the code owners thing starting to come about, right? Like, theoretically, information should be able to be looked up more easily.
Right. I mean, even adding instructions on, I mean, where you find people is just, look up the members, like when you go to a project, and then just you need to sort it, and but it's not obvious. But it even took me a while, like after a couple of weeks after starting in GitLab, to figure that out. But so it'll be infinitely worse for people who don't work here, right? So.
Yeah, this page is also useful as well in terms of looking at. I mean, I'm not sure if it. Just looking at it now, not sure if it looks the product managers, but might be worth having this page.
Yeah, I think I listed this on at least during the kickoff session for the hackathon, but this could be on the landing page too, or have it a little bit more obvious. But
sorry, guys.
Yeah, I mean,
sorry. One thing that I noted on that page is that you see the front end, the back end maintainers, but they're not divided by the team. And sometimes I found out that I don't know, or at least I'm not 100% sure who shall I ping for a certain kind of merge request, for example, on the API or on the issue.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's what that's what I found too. Like, I mean, there are a couple of different lists with product managers and this assignments for engineers. But there are still areas like API is a good example. Like, it's not obvious like who I need to ping, and I just tend to guess. But yeah, something that we can.
Yeah, I'm just pasting a couple of links. I mean, I know this is not optimal, but I think perhaps this is something that as a team we could figure out. I mean, this is how I generally figure sometimes what particular. I generally start on the features page, essentially, if it's something that I don't know who to talk to. And then I worked out the team, and then I look at the product manager. This is something that's difficult for GitLabers or people who have been working with GitLab for quite a long time. You can imagine, or we can imagine, how difficult this could be for someone new to the project. So I think there's quite a lot of potential for improvement there. Sorry, go on, Ben.
I was just gonna say, I think this stuff is all useful for us and GitLabers, but for the casual contributors, I have way too much detail, way too hard to go looking for people.
Yeah, I mean, I think it should just be, I'm making this up. I need to talk to the PMs. By default, it should just be, for this page, it should just be the PM. Like, I don't need to know who the technical writer is for this particular area, right? And then product manager can figure out, if it needs to go to Liam versus Dennis, then they'll figure it out, right? But it shouldn't be left up to the community members to sort of figure out who they need to ping. But
I think the most logical thing probably is just to think through what what's the one place you want contributors to go look if they're stuck, and it just have some clear guidance, ping this email or look through this list of 10 teams and ping these PMs or something relatively simple, right?
Right. Okay. All right. So 4 minutes left, and I was talking to George about this earlier, but just wanted to double check with people that are on here from the core team. I know Ben, I think you were able to register, right? So Uh,
I have permission, but have failed to do so far. So
okay,
hopefully
cool.
tomorrow.
Okay, no, so just wanted to make sure that people didn't have any questions or issues with registration. If you do, please let me know. And should be pretty straightforward, but feel free to find us or even Kirsten on Slack if you have any issues registering. But, so that was a quick item. And the next one is also relatively quick. So FOSDEM, I don't know if, how many of you attended FOSDEM in the past. I mean, it typically happens in the first weekend of February in Brussels. So they get like thousands of, like, I think last year they got over like 5,000 open source developers, and this is an event like you don't even need to register. You just show up at this campus in Brussels, and then they have several different tracks for, I mean, they have like infra management is sort of the track for a lot of the DevOps people, and then they'll have a track for like network transformation was another one that I was participating in last year. And what we did this year, or 2019, we got a stand, or basically a booth. It's basically a tabletop, and then we can have whatever collaterals we want there. So we're going to have a stand. So the first week, Saturday and Sunday in February. If you happen to be around, obviously we'd be happy to see you. I mean, it's not the most convenient places for a lot of you, but if you happen to be there, just let me know. And there's a FOSDEM Slack channel if you want to follow discussions there. So just wanted to give everybody a heads up, and then coincidentally this year the Git merge event is also happening in Brussels the day before. So I'm guessing it's a different part of Brussels, but apparently Git merge is an event that's that we've been participating for the past couple of years. So just wanted to give people a heads up. Cool. I think we got a minute left. I don't know if people have any other questions or comments. And quiet. No.
I think everyone's good.
Cool. Okay. So yeah, if I don't, I'm sure I'll talk to all of you online. But if I don't, please enjoy the holidays, and we'll do this again in the new year. So, cool. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks,
Cheers.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.